In order to get started, you want to get all of your supplies out first. You can see here that I have an X-Acto knife. I have two different kinds. Be careful when you're using it. Usually the blade goes in and out. And I have this one where the blade is not retractable. The yellow one isn't good, so I'm going to save the black one. Then, of course, you get a good pair of sharp scissors. You're going to need those. I also have a nail clipper. I'm going to show you why we're going to use that in a little bit. And I have my hot glue gun out and extra glue sticks if I need some extra glue. If you don't have that and you have a glue stick, that's fine. A bigger one would be better, but I'm sure many of you have like the smaller one. I have some Mod Podge. You might have some white Elmer's glue. I didn't have that, so I'm going to use Mod Podge instead. The next thing you're going to need is some cardboard to make your plate. I've cut out 2 pieces of cardboard here. They're about, 6.5 by 8-ish. And then one I've already started to cut out. It's about the same size, about 6.5 by 8. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about those in a minute. Then you want to gather some recyclable materials. I have this from my clementines. I had some paper doilies left over from Valentine's Day. I have my leaf here. I have some thin cardboard from like a cereal box. Those are easy to draw on and easy to cut with a scissor. And then I collected some beads, some flatter beads. Those big beads are probably going to be too high, but I have some flatter beads that are a little bit better. I also have some regular wrapping paper ribbon. I have a lot of that in my house. And then I found some felt letters, which are good because they're a nice thickness and some of them still have the stickiness on the back of them. Then I have like some lace ribbon that I'm going to use. And I think this is probably enough to collect. You can always collect more organic things. So first I'm going to show you how to make a plate where you were drawing things out. I drew out this piece. You can see my pencil marks. I'm making an eye. And then I actually traced that piece to create this bigger piece. And I'm going to stack them on top because I want to layer and get some depth on this plate. Then again, there's my piece for the bottom part of my eye that I traced and made a bigger piece, which I'm going to eventually glue together. And there's the circle part for my pupil. And you can see that if I place them all together here, that's kind of how I planned out my plate. And we're going to glue those together in a minute. Then I cut up some piece of ribbon because I thought I'd make sort of like eyelashes with my wrapping paper ribbon. And again, I don't have anything glued yet, but I want to kind of see where all of my pieces fall before I get anything glued down. So here I can plan how everything's gonna go. Important to keep in mind that you want to figure out what needs to get glued down first and what stays. You can have things come off of the plate if you'd like, or you can decide to trim them later. So there's where I have everything laid out. Then you're gonna want to have some more stuff at hand because it's a little bit empty. So I grabbed the cereal box recyclable bit, and I am going to maybe make a tear coming out of my eye. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head to show you so I can draw it, and I'm easily gonna cut it out. And I'm gonna use the same technique I did with the eye where I've cut the smaller tear out, and that's gonna go right underneath my eye. And then I am going to loosely trace it again on another piece. And this way you can see how I layered it, and it's gonna go one on top of the other. Remember, building layers on a Collagraph plate is gonna give the print more depth when we actually print it. So let me show you how that looks when we stack both of the tiers up together. Cutting it out. And there's my bigger piece and my smaller piece. And now I know where everything's gonna go. Now I need a middle piece for the pupil of my eye, and this bead is like the perfect size. So I'm gonna snip it off the string and I'm going to put it in the center. And that looks pretty good. And the only thing I'm concerned, the thickness of the bead, and I found this other bead that's a little bit thinner. So I think I'm gonna choose to use that bead instead. Plus I like how it mimics the radiation. I'm gonna use my hot glue gun, and I'm going to glue down the things that are closest to the plate first. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue together my layers. So I'm gonna glue my bottom eye layer first. And then I am going to glue my top layer, all right? So you're gonna watch here how I glue everything together, starting with gluing the things that I know are going together, the top and the bottom eye. I'm gonna do the teardrop, and then I'm also going to glue down my ribbon first because that goes onto the plate, and my pupil. All right. So as I'm gluing everything down here, you can see I'm gonna really try and line everything up. I think what I'm gonna decide to do is, so that my ribbon doesn't move and I know it's exactly where I need it to be, I already have my pupil glued down. I am going to use a little mark for each one, right? Just a tiny bit on each end of my ribbon so I know where my eyelash goes. And it's gonna be easy for me just to put a tiny bit of the hot glue right where that line is, and then just press the ribbon down on that piece. If I feel like the ribbon is really loose, I can always go back in and add some more glue, but at least I can just tack it down in the right spot for now so that I know that it's lined up with the top part of the eye. And at some point, I will learn how to fast forward this for you guys so that you don't have to watch this at the speed that I'm doing it. But for now, you gotta bear with me while I get this last eyelash down. And I know the lashes, the ribbon's coming off the Collagraph plate, and that's okay. I know we always wanna chop things off at the end of the plate, but it's fine where it is. And then I know that everything's gonna line up. Again, using the hot glue, put it right down on the piece. You're gonna have all of those little wispy, feathery pieces from the hot glue, so you just kind of have to pick them off and move them out of the way as you go. They're a little bit irritating, but the advantage of using the hot glue is that you have a really precise spot. So there are some advantages of using a hot glue. You just have to deal with the nuisance of all of those little wispy pieces. So I'm gonna get the bottom part of my eye glued down, and my tear, a little spot of glue right there. And then I'm gonna actually put a blob of glue in the center of the eye because I kind of want the middle part of my button filled up. Notice I did cut away a little bit of the pupil for the reflection. And that's really what you want your plate to look like. If you want, you know, a representational piece. Again, you can decide to snip the pieces down if you want. I think I might leave a little bit hanging over for now. Again, once you print it, if you don't like it hanging over the edge, you can always cut it down later. Now, this plate's a little bit empty. You know, I might go back in. I'm just going to tack this ribbon down because it was a little bit loose on the end. But you can use your glue gun and actually draw with the glue gun and just draw anything you want right onto the plate. That's the nice thing about using a glue gun. You can